accordance with state law. The board president has determined an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of the continued disaster declaration from the governor's office related to COVID-19, nor is it feasible for a library trustee, the executive director, or library attorney to be present at the library. Notice of this virtual meeting has been provided to the public in advance, and instructions to attend virtually and/or comment were detailed in that notice. A recording of this meeting will be available on the library's website by Friday, March 25th. I would like to call the Fox River Valley Public Library District Board of Trustees meeting to order at 7:01. Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Just in time. Thank you.
Oh, good. I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag
United
of the
United States of America
and
and
to
to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
Secretary Evans, can you please call the roll?
Matt. Hello, I'm here. Is Matt here?
I don't
Or is
see him
Matt
yet.
not in yet?
Yes, I am here. I was
Oh,
muted.
okay.
There he is.
Okay. And Mary Ann?
I'm here
Present?
now.
Tara?
Here.
Dave?
Here.
Chris here? Richard?
Here.
Christina?
Here.
All present and accounted for.
The board recognizes its responsibility to provide an opportunity for anyone wishing to comment at any meeting to do so. Due to current public health concerns, this March 15th, 2022 meeting will be conducted by video conference. Any person viewing the meeting online and/or wishing to comment will be accommodated in accordance with the stated public notice. Citizens will not be requested to sign in to comment, and each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes. Are there any comments? Hearing none, moving on to the president's report. So that trustees know, the economic interest statement will be emailed directly to each of you the last week in March. Kane County has advised the Secretary of State will issue guidance for completion of the new form. Administration will provide that guidance to trustees as soon as it is available, which is expected no later than April 1st, and recommends waiting to file until that guidance is presented. The due date for the electronic submission is Monday, May 2nd. So you will have plenty of time. Don't feel like you have to rush into it. Wait for that guidance to come from Karen. Later in the meeting, we will have an opportunity to begin to discuss future plans for the library district. I'd like to get consensus on what Saturday morning dates in April or May would be available or would work for everyone for a special meeting. So if you guys could take a look at your calendars. Really, I'm good with anything except for the 28th of May. I can do any other Saturday in April or May.
Christine, this is a morning meeting.
Yes, it would be a Saturday morning, a few hours. Usually it's kind of a board retreat for us to really dig into future direction.
Yeah, any day in April, any Saturday in April is good for me.
Great.
So I'm good, the 23rd or the 30th of April, and pretty much any Saturday in May.
Oh, man.
I can be available the 30th of April. Oh, I'm available any Saturday in April with the exception of the 23rd. And in May right now, I'm pretty open.
I'm pretty open for April and May so far.
What if we said May 14th?
Oh,
What does
Okay.
May 14th look like?
Okay,
Okay, most of my stuff's on Sundays, so Saturdays are good.
Yeah, I think that'd work for me too.
It'll work for me.
works for me.
it works here.
It works for me, I think. I'm pretty sure. I cannot do May 7th, but May 14th should be okay.
Do we have a start time?
I don't remember what time we started last time.
I think it was about 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds right.
and was it 9 to 11, Richard?
Yeah. It may have run a few minutes over that, but usually a couple hours.
Yeah. So
And where do we meet?
9 to 11-ish on May 14th then?
Where do we meet?
At
Where?
the public safety building in West Dundee. It's like the corner of Sleepy Hollow Road and 72.
Okay. Okay.
I think I was told that there was a facilitator in the past. Do we want a facilitator?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be good.
Anyone in particular or?
Anybody that you know of that has training in that?
Well, I know there was one that we used in the past that Karen has information about, but I don't actually know anybody locally off the top of my head.
We can talk more about it, Amy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we can talk about it more when we get to the board discussion part of the program, right?
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, good. That is it for me. Under the director's report.
Okay. The first item under the director's report is our annual required sexual harassment training. So I will hand it over to Heather.
Okay, good evening. It's been a while since I've done a Teams presentation, so hopefully there's not too many technical gaps, but if there are, you let me know. First, I'm going to try to share my screen, and then we'll see if the slides go forward. Okay. So, do you see a large screen that says sexual harassment prevention training?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, we're good to go then. We will be going over sexual harassment prevention training. This is an annual training that's required for all employees and board members in the state of Illinois. So I'm going to begin with our library's commitment to preventing harassing behaviors from happening at the library. Our library is committed to ensuring that one's workplace is safe and comfortable place of employment. Our library has a non-discrimination and anti-harassment policy, which can be found in the employee handbook, that covers discrimination and harassment against any protected classes, including sexual harassment. And our library takes all complaints of harassment seriously and will take appropriate action for all valid claims. So what we'll be going over tonight, what is non-harassment, prevention techniques, how to file a complaint, what happens after a complaint is filed, and our library's responsibility to our employees to prevent them from harassing behaviors on the job. So we're going to begin with a discussion question. And this is this acceptable behavior? Is asking someone out for a date at work acceptable behavior? Does anyone have any opinions? It's kind of an awkward question, and it's meant to demonstrate the nuance of harassment, because it honestly depends upon the situation. There are certainly situations where it would be disruptive to the work environment. That would include a supervisor asking out their employee, or if the person asking refuses to take no for an answer. However, coworker asking out someone who's outside of their reporting line is not inherently problematic and wouldn't usually be considered sexual harassment. So I'm going to go over first what is generally considered harassment, and that's harassment of any kind. Harassment is any unwelcome advance or conduct on the job that creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment that is based upon a person's actual or perceived protected status. And here I list all the different types of protected statuses. The thing to note is that every person has several different protected statuses, and that any kind of harassment against one of them would be considered harassment. We have all these outlined in the non-discrimination and anti-harassment policy that is in the employee handbook. Now I'm going to narrow in on to what is specifically considered sexual harassment. And sexual harassment is any unwelcome sexual advance or conduct on the job that creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment. And harassing behaviors can occur in a variety of different relationships. They can happen among peers on the job, in relationships where there's an imbalance of power, for instance, a supervisor and their employee, or vice versa. And that can happen with people who are outside of the library, such as vendors, contractors, or patrons. In employment, sexual harassment is any unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or any conduct of a sexual nature when submission to such conduct is either explicitly or implicitly made as a term or condition of employment, and submission to or rejection of the conduct is used as a basis for making decisions about your employment, or such conduct interferes with your job performance or creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment. I'm going to pause and just check, are my slides advancing? Cool, we're good. Okay. Further getting into the definition of sexual harassment, the behavior must be unwelcome or offensive. And the focus is really on the impact versus the intent. The intent of the person who is displaying harassing behaviors really doesn't matter. If it's creating a negative working environment, it needs to stop. And the working environment extends beyond the walls of the library to any place where we would ask an employee to be working. So if an employee experiences harassing environment at a conference or while at another library, it would still be considered harassment on the job. Okay, now these are several examples of sexual harassment behaviors: uninvited, sex-oriented, verbal kidding or demeaning sexual innuendos, leers, gestures, teasing, sexually explicit or obscene jokes, remarks or questions of a sexual nature, graphic or suggestive comments about an individual's dress or body, displaying sexually explicit objects, photographs, writings, or drawings, unwelcome touching, such as patting, pinching, or constant brushing against another's body, suggesting or demanding sexual involvement of another person, whether or not such suggestion or demand is accompanied by implicit or explicit threats concerning one's employment status or similar personal concerns. And even if two or more individuals are engaging in consensual conduct, such conduct could constitute harassment of or discrimination against another individual who may witness or overhear the conduct. Next slide is on reducing and preventing sexual harassment at the library. If one experiences misconduct, they should let that person know clearly that they are offended, tell the person to stop, and then report the incident to one supervisor. In the case of the board, that would be board president, or the HR manager or any trusted supervisor. And in the case of staff, staff do not have to tolerate harassment from patrons. They would not be reprimanded if they spoke up when a patron's behavior made them uncomfortable. Additionally, we are all responsible for creating a harassment-free work environment, so everyone needs to be mindful of their own contact. No one should participate in questionable workplace behavior. If you think it might not be a good idea to say something or do something, don't do it. Ask yourself, would I act like this in front of my boss, my spouse, my child, etc.? Would I want someone saying or doing this to someone I cared about? So now we're going to go over what is not general or sexual harassment. So negative workplace behavior is considered harassment if it's pervasive or severe and against someone of a protected class. Sometimes one instance is severe enough to constitute harassment. Examples would include use of a racial slur or touching of one's private areas. Isolated incidents of harassing behavior usually will not be sufficient to constitute harassment unless the isolated incidents are severe in nature. Likewise, if someone is moody or mean to everybody, that's not necessarily considered harassment because it's not against a protected class. It is, however, still unacceptable behavior in the workplace. And even if something isn't necessarily harassment, it's encouraged to report anything that makes you uncomfortable, whether it happens to you or someone else. Sometimes it takes consistent reporting to demonstrate that a behavior is pervasive and thus harassment. So how does one go about filing a complaint? If you experience harassment of any kind or suspect someone else is being harassed, report the incident to one of the following groups or people. Your supervisor, in this case the board president, human resources, Sherry, anyone in senior leadership with whom you feel comfortable talking to, such as Amy or myself, and then there are external resources available through the state and federal government, which I'm going to have on the next slide. So these are the resources for resolution outside of the library. We have these listed in the library's non-discrimination and anti-harassment policy, as well as posted in the break areas of both of our library locations. So what happens when a report of harassment is filed? The complaint of conduct is reported to the Human Resource Department. HR or its designee, which would always be a manager, conducts a thorough investigation. Confidentiality is maintained as much as possible under the circumstances, but we do need to investigate any claims. Appropriate corrective action is taken in a timely manner, and investigative findings are shared as appropriate with directly involved parties. However, because of confidentiality, someone might not know the full results of an investigation that does not involve them directly. Further information on the definition of confidentiality. Every effort will be made to conduct the investigation in a discreet and confidential manner, but we cannot assure total confidentiality. Managers and supervisors are duty bound to the company to report incidents of harassment. And you cannot be retaliated against for reporting harassment in good faith. If you suspect a retaliatory action has been taken, that could trigger a new and separate disciplinary matter. So this is what should happen after a complaint. No one will be punished for making a good faith complaint. No one will be punished for their good faith participation in an investigation. And retaliation of any kind will not be tolerated by anyone. This is the end of the training, and this is outlining our library's responsibilities to the people that we employ. We need to have a policy, which we do. It's the non-discrimination anti-harassment policy. Annual training for sexual harassment is conducted for every single employee and trustee. Any substantiated complaints against an employee will subject the individual to disciplinary action up to and including termination. Any reports of harassment will be quickly investigated. There will be no retaliation for good faith complaints. We will maintain confidentiality to the best of our abilities. And the library is in compliance with the law of the Illinois Human Rights Act and Title VII of the United States Civil Rights Act of 1964. So I went through that very quickly, possibly because this is the 7th time I've done this training for people. So if you have any questions or anything I can clarify, now is the time. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay.
That was great, Heather. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Well done, Heather.
Great job. Thank you. Okay, the next item, excuse me, under director's report is just a brief report on benefits for part-time staff, and I will hand that over to Sherry.
Sorry, guys. Okay. I'm very nervous there. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We don't bite.
Basically, what I am proposing is currently our benefited part-time staff, which is the folks that work either 20 or 25 hours, but less than 40. Their vacation policy is for the first year, they have a half of a week vacation, which is 10 hours. And then years 1 through 5, they only have 1 week vacation. And after 5 years, they go to 2 weeks vacation. So I am asking to adjust the benefits to be more in line with our full-time staff. And after the first year to go to 2 weeks vacation.
Do we know what the vacation policies at libraries in the surrounding area do?
That we're very competitive full-time wise. After the first year, we have 2 weeks vacation, and then it goes to 3 weeks. Or after the first year is 2 weeks, then it goes to 3 weeks. So full-time, we're very competitive. We're really behind the ball in the benefited part-time. To wait 5 years for an extra week vacation is really, so we're not competitive at all in that field. And for our benefited part-time, the only benefit is their vacation. They're not offered medical or dental or anything. And with working the 20 hours, they have to commit to the IMRF, which they have to commit 4.5% of their check. So it's, by calling it benefit is really, it's difficult. So this is one perk that we can offer them, because again, this is also our, all of our staff is important, but this is higher level staff. It's our specialists, it's library assistants and such. And I know from being a benefited part-time HR specialist, it's very difficult to only have 1 week vacation a year, because if your family goes on a 10-day vacation, you're kind of out of luck. Plus, you can't take any time off the remainder of the year. So it really is, it's very hard on the staff. And again, this would just kind of put in line with our full-time. And we're only talking
Sherry?
of 4 people. This would only affect 4 people right now.
Sherry, over time, would that go from 2 to 3 weeks or?
It goes to 3 weeks after 10 years.
Okay. Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the 25-hour employees do not have an adjustment for that 5 extra hours. They get whatever the 20-hour employees get, right?
That's the way it used to be. We're keeping it in line because our 25 hours is our work week. So we're now making their vacation a 25-hour because they were shorted on that for several years prior to Amy and I coming on board. So they would actually have to work extra hours in the event that there was a holiday or something. It was a very lopsided policy. So again, this isn't changing the policy, it's just changing the benefit time to be more in line with our full-timers.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't think this requires a vote of any kind, correct?
I don't think so.
Correct.
Great. Well, thank you for presenting that to us, Sherry.
You're very welcome.
Dave, you're muted.
Thank you.
Sorry, I started talking and no one was listening because I was muted. But if sorry, so I understand correctly, we only have 4 part-time.
There's no, we have more, but they've gone past their 5 years. And it would only affect 4 current part-timers. It was 5,
okay.
but one of our folks is going to be going full-time shortly. So,
No, I think it makes sense. And I, for one, always valued every minute of my vacation when I could. So I think that's important to be competitive and fair to the part-time people.
Exactly. And 5 years is a very long time to wait for 1 more week vacation. So.
Yeah.
I would. It's forever.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we not offer any sick days at all? Because you said that was really the only benefit.
Well, we
they
do offer
get.
that. They do get sick time.
They do.
The benefit of part-timers do get some sick time. Yes.
Okay.
And they do get paid holidays. And in the past, it was 4 hours per paid holiday.
Gotcha.
Thank you for clarifying that.
No problem.
Good.
Okay. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
I'll just go over my report really, really quickly before we move on. And I'm not going to read it to you, of course, but I really enjoyed going to the Algonquin Library and presenting to their staff. I was really honored to do that. And I learned a lot and I had a lot of fun. And I hope that we can partner with neighboring libraries more in the future. Everything's moving along in terms of getting ready for the summer, getting ready for roof repair. So many things are dependent on the weather. But the roof repair, we're watching the temperatures. Just to give you a quick update that's not on my report. We have to wait for the temperatures to be above 40 at night as well as during the day. And our nighttime temperatures just aren't quite there yet. And if we were to do the repairs and it gets too cold at night, then the materials can shrink and warp, and we definitely don't want that. Because then we'd be back to square one. So we are watching the temperatures and in communication with the contractor. So we're all ready for it as soon as the weather behaves. So let's see. The American Library Association is having their annual meeting on Thursday, and I'll be speaking briefly. You do not have to be a member to attend if you'd like to attend, but you certainly don't have to. My portion will only be about 5 minutes, but the overriding theme of the meeting is intellectual freedom and book challenges and censorship and things like that. So if you're interested in that, you might enjoy the meeting. It's a 1-hour meeting on Thursday at 1 o'clock. And if you would like to sign up for that, I can send you the link again or help you in any way you need. The elections for the American Library Association are also going on right now. I'm running to be on the board of the Rainbow Roundtable, which used to be called the LGBT Roundtable. And I would, if I'm elected, I'll be a director at large, which is like a board member. So I'm excited about that, but if it doesn't work out, that's fine. But I think I would get a lot out of that professionally. And again, it's just another partnership where we can all learn from each other. So I'm hoping that that will come through. Let's see. And then as far as COVID is concerned, as I mentioned in my report, we complied with all of the orders and recommendations from the governor's office and the CDC. We didn't have a whole lot of warning when they changed things up on us at the last minute, but we are mask free. There are some staff who are choosing to wear a mask, some patrons who choose to wear a mask, but they're not required. And we've had 0 problems, 0 complaints. So that's my report in a nutshell. And I will move on to Heather again for dashboard.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yes.
The meeting for the intellectual freedom, it's on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Do you know if that will be recorded?
Oh, I don't know. I'll check and let you know.
I'd really like to attend that, but I do have a previous engagement at that time. But
Okay.
if it's available as a recording, I'd really be interested in hearing about that.
Okay, I will check and I will email you.
Given the hot times of our time.
Right, exactly.
So,
One,
sorry,
Yes,
go ahead.
no, I had one question about the roof repair. Once that's repaired, is there repairs required to like the ceiling or the rooms within the library?
We'll have a few ceiling tiles to replace, but it's fairly minimal. I mean, we've been trying to keep up with repairs, knowing that it may or may not leak again in certain areas, but we won't
Okay.
need any major
Nothing-
repairs, no. No.
Nothing. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, any other questions? Sorry. Okay. Heather, it's all you.
Okay, so the general trend for the dashboard for February is that we're up in every area except for checkouts, which can be explained by our library just not being open as many days in February as January. We are up in checkouts from last February, which is when we reopened to the public after being closed for a couple months due to COVID. Are there any questions on the dashboard?
Yes, the breakdown on the programs charts.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a like a code as to the different colors are.
So did I do that wrong? Let me see.
Maybe I just did.
It looks correct that each of the categories are broken out.
So, for instance, program attendance trend for currently says that there's like 5 different colors.
Oh, okay, yes, I can explain that. This is one
Thank
of the major limitations of OpenGov software is that when I'm comparing year to year, it's by fiscal year and it's not by the actual year. So that 2021 is FIY 2021, which ended in July. And the reason why there's so many colors is because it was our weird year when we weren't doing live programs, so we were doing a ton of passive programs, which resulted in all those weird colors. Because normally our passive programs are minimal. It's just when we can't do live programming that we wind up really doing passive programming, and that's why 2021 is such a weird year. When we get to fiscal year 2022, it should look more in line with the years that you had seen before.
And so for instance, dark blue versus light blue versus brown,
So the dark blue is youth attendance of live programming. The light blue is adult attendance of live programming. That big orange chunk is youth passive programs, which would be either a make and take kit or an event that we posted on Facebook, but people could just passively view it rather than actually be there at the time of the program. The one under it is meal service attendance, which is a broken out category for all the meals that we give away during the year. In prior years, we counted those as program attendance, but because we didn't have it live in person, we counted it as its own separate category for that year. And then we had adult passive attendance under that, and other, which is every other type of programming. Most likely it's teen passive and teen programming.
So this tool does not allow you the ability to like show a color key?
It does. If you hover over each of those categories, it will tell you what they mean. And if you click on the graph, it will give you more information on exactly what is considered in each of the graphs. Like you can break it down to the month, basically, if you click on the graph.
Not on the PDF, Dave. If you go to the transparency dashboard on the website, you can view all of those different categories and look at that all more closely.
Okay.
So sorry, I was getting that. Thank you, Christine. I appreciate it.
Yes. I kept clicking and nothing was happening. So, all right, thank you.
I'm very familiar with the Open Glove software, less familiar with the PDF, so that was my mistake.
Okay.
While I have everyone here, I have a non-transparency related thing that I wanted to go over. I've heard from you, several of you already, but in case you haven't checked your emails, it's an exciting time of the year because we're planning for summer reading t-shirts. So please let me know your size and color preferences by Monday. Every one that is a solid color, which means not tie-dye, is free. So you get one free non-tie-dye t-shirt. Tie-dye t-shirts are $12. So if you wanted to, and frankly, it's the option I personally chose, you can get a solid color t-shirt and then pay for your tie-dye t-shirt because tie-dye t-shirts are cool. I just want to put that blurb out there to let me know what you would like by Monday so that you get your t-shirts. And now I open it to any other questions on the dashboard.
On the t-shirt, when do we pay for our $12 tie-dye cool t-shirt?
Whenever you want to.
Drop in and drop it off to you?
You can drop it off to me or to Karen. It's fine.
Okay.
But you can wait until you get your t-shirt too, if you want to.
They're great shirts this year.
I love them.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the design.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
Are there any questions about department reports or comments?
Just you always knock my socks off. I'm
Yeah.
just so, I'm so proud to say that I'm a member and a board member of our library, because I think we do a tremendous job, especially with our limited space. And especially during COVID. I can't applaud our staff and faculty enough.
Yeah,
I agree 100%.
that's a smart, motivated people. So
Yep.
Yep. Lots of talent.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm finished with the director's portion.
All right. Before I call for a motion on the consent agenda, are there any items trustees would like withheld for discussion prior to approval? Hearing
No.
none, I will
No.
entertain a motion to approve items A1A through A1J under the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
So moved.
Richard moved, Matt seconded.
Yep.
Chris, please call the roll.
Matt,
Yes.
Marianne,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
Dave,
yes,
Chris, yes. Richard,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
the ayes have it.
All right, we have no unfinished business tonight. I will now entertain a motion to award the contract for keyless access control system and related equipment at Dundee Library to Current Technologies Corporation in an amount not to exceed $31,891.06.
so moved.
Seconded.
All right, Dave and Marianne, the matter is now open for discussion.
So
Well-
does this include the new doors and work that's being done, or is this separate from that?
It's separate, but I hope to have it done all at the same time or one after the other. The new doors being first. But no, it's a separate contract, separate job.
Right, sorry, I wasn't very clear in my question. So
Sorry.
separate contracts, yes, that's understood, but these will electrify and provide access to all the new doors that are being installed.
Yes, that's a great question, because the other bids were so high. As you can see, it was a huge range of prices. Those higher bids, actually all of them except for the one we're proposing, are proposing hardwired systems, whereas the current technology system is wireless. So we do not need to electrify every door. We do need it on one or two select doors, but everything else will be done wirelessly by not Bluetooth, but something similar to Bluetooth. So it's not dependent on Wi-Fi either. And it's a very high-tech system, and it would provide a lot more security that we don't currently have. We've also checked the references of other local businesses that have had the same system from the same company, and it was glowing reviews of Wi-Fi over hardwire and with specifically current technologies. So we were really, really pleased to get their bid.
So these are probably.
What happens if,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dave.
no, you have the floor, Matt, go ahead.
These are probably battery systems, and one thing to be cognizant of is when the batteries run out, are they fail open or fail safe closed and locked?
Michael might know the answer to that question.
Not that we need to answer it now, just kind of check into it to make sure we know.
Right.
Anyway, that's all.
Okay.
So if we have no internet, I guess that's
It still works.
it still works. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Amy, I have a question.
Yep.
Can you kind of describe the extent of this? Will every door in the library have one of these?
No, actually, the front door, our new entrance door, that's a sliding motion detected door, will not have it. It will, the main entry for staff will be on the west side of the building where we have the new ramp and the new steps. And they will have a key card to swipe, much like a hotel room key. It doesn't have to be swiped across a magnetic field. It literally just has to be touched. And then secure offices will also have those. So the administration offices, human resources, business office, actually all of the departmental offices and workspaces will have the new system. A few select doors will keep old locks, like closets and supply areas and things like that. But those don't get used very much and they don't really need the wireless system. So the public won't even really see it, but all staff will be asked to come through that one staff entrance on the west side. But the front door will have a key, an old-fashioned key lock. And it is, you can open it before we're open, and you can get out if the power fails. It has that emergency capability, but it won't have the keyless system.
So with the doors, do they have stages of security? In other words, certain people can only open certain doors?
That's correct. And actually takes it a step further, can only open certain doors at certain times. So, you know, if an employee came in at midnight and they're not supposed to be there at midnight, they can't get in. But say the janitors would always, you know, have access at that time. So yeah, it's based on the person, what they need to access and the time of day. Whereas others would have 24-hour access to everything, like me or Michael or, you know.
Good.
Okay.
It's also one of the really cool parts of the system I'll just share with you is that it's easy to program new people and remove people from the system. So we don't have to worry about keys being copied, keys being lost, keys being shared. It's all electronic and it's all very easy to maintain.
Yeah, that's cool.
Wonderful. I like the technology. I think it's moving us in the right direction.
Great.
It's probably also easier to modify if we, you know, do some construction too, I'm guessing. So.
Absolutely, yes. We can just add on to the system if we add more doors or change our entrances or whatever. We can easily move those around. Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yep.
All right, the motion on the floor is to award the contract for keyless access control system and related equipment at Dundee Library to Current Technologies Corporation in an amount not to exceed $31,891.06. Chris, please call the roll.
Matt,
Yes.
Marianne,
Yes.
Tara,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Chris, yes. Richard,
Yes.
Christina.
Yeah.
Motion carried.
Fantastic.
All right. There is no motion to be made. I'm grabbing for a notebook. I want to open the floor to talking about what we'd like to talk about when talking about the future of the library. So this would just be helpful in forming an agenda for more in-depth planning that we'll do on May 14th. So the question is basically, when we come together on May 14th, what would you like to be covered that day?
Well, I think we have to talk about, you know, acquisition of property or, you know, construction plans, you know, if we're going to have any plans like that, see what the board thinks, you know, how far down the road we want to push this. I mean, that seems to me to be the obvious and most difficult issue that the board faces in the coming years.
Agreed.
I agree too.
Yeah, I think we got to remember that the clock is still ticking on Randall Oaks. At some point, the Park District is going to want that area back. That was made clear when we first took over that it was not a permanent thing, and it's not large enough for us to even consider as permanent. So I think I agree with Dave. I think the agenda should be revolve around where we go to relieve us of that situation at Randall Oaks. New building, rent of another space, do something.
Well, and if we're going to discuss that, then at some point we have to, whether we want to or not, talk about when and where, you know, we're going to get the funding, and are we going to try to pass a referendum, which we know is not the easiest thing to do in this community. So I think that definitely has to be part of the discussion, and we're kind of limited as to, you know, do we want to even entertain trying to pass it on a presidential election year?
I'm sorry, Chris, you were breaking up at the end.
Oh, I just said, you know, maybe we don't want to even entertain trying to pass it on a presidential election year, because in some cases, lots of voters isn't always a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to
Very true.
discuss all of our options first before we even can identify referendums or how much we need and those types of things. But yeah, eventually we're gonna have to cross that bridge for sure. Yeah.
I have a question for the board. For the May 14th gathering, would we like to have lab construction present for this part of the conversation, or no?
No, I don't think that's necessary.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. I think we have a lot of strategy and framing to talk about before we even get remotely near there. So
Okay. I just want to put it out there. That's great.
And Amy, you and I can talk more about a more specific agenda, but Kirsten, if I can get it on your radar to maybe be there, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is,
Yeah.
I would also like to speak with whoever on the board has the history of where we've been on this subject.
Yeah, so a presentation on the history would be a really good idea, especially with new board members and as a refresher. So, yeah.
And even for me, I would, wherever that person may be, you know, I would be happy to meet with them and over coffee and talk story about that. So.
Okay, great.
Is that you, Richard?
Well, it could be.
No, I mean,
I've been here the longest.
Yep.
Been through
You are
a couple
Christine.
of these things, and I think we've learned some things. I think we made some in retrospect, some serious mistakes along the way. But you know, I'd be glad to. In fact, for that 14th, I could probably go over some of these things. You know, what we did, how we did it, and what the results were, if you'd like me to do that.
That'd be great.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. I'll have something
Yeah,
ready.
it would be,
Yeah, if
yeah,
you
it would be
can
good.
prep yourself to present on that, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
I would also ask a couple of the senior managers that have been here a long time and maybe get one of them, to help with that information too, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure. I think that'd be great.
Okay.
Be
Yeah,
glad
that'd be great.
to meet at some point in the library and we could put together something. That'd be great.
That sounds perfect. Great. Thank you.
I know our previous director, Lauren Rosenthal, put together a kind of a history of the library that I think she pointed out that this community has never passed a referendum for the libraries.
Yep.
So that's what I remember of it. But, so that might be
pretty much true.
Are there any other means we can use to raise money for a new building? Or are we stuck with things?
Talking about that, we can definitely talk about
bake sales.
Yep.
Car wash.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, being the
Well,
entity
if anyone thinks of anything else, just shoot me an email and I will make sure that we include it on the agenda.
Okay.
I wonder whether or not it would be, this might be futile, but would it be worth dragging out the surveys from the last time we took them and just review some of the druthers that were given to us? People spoke pretty loud and clear, even though they may not be ready to spend the money, but they did give us, some pretty sound decisions as what they preferred. So it might be good to go back and look at that survey that we did.
Yeah. And yeah, some of the concerns that people had too.
Right.
Yeah, we had a citizens task force that worked on the last campaign for the idea for quite a while. Some of those records might be helpful as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I saw those. Where are those available now? Are they in the office or where are they?
We have them. I'd have to talk to Kirsten and Heather and but I know we have them.
Okay.
All right. Great.
Exciting.
Yep, it is exciting. We have our work cut out for us, but it is exciting. I agree with you. Okay. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session in accordance with 5 ILCS 120/2C21. Discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under this act, whether for purposes of approval by the body of the minutes or review of the minutes as mandated by section 205 and 5 ILCS 120/2C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body. Can I have a
So
move in a
moved.
second? Was that Dave and Tara?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. And we
Matt?
do expect action upon return to open session. So, Chris, can you please call the roll?
Matt?
Yes.
Marianne?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Chris, yes. Richard?
Yes.
Christina?
Yes. We stand
motion?
adjourned at 8 o'clock on the dot. I would like to call the March 15th, 2022 Board of Trustees regular meeting back into order at 8:17 PM. Chris, please call the roll.
Matt,
Here.
Marianne,
Here.
Thanks.
Tara,
Here.
Dave,
Here.
Chris, yes, here. Richard,
Here.
Christina.
Here.
It's amazing. We never lose people,
It is amazing.
except me
I
when
will
I have to
now
go turn.
entertain a motion to approve the report of the closed session minutes review and destruction of all audio recordings made prior to September 15th, 2020.
So move.
So moved.
Marianne and Matt. Any open discussion? All right, the motion on the floor is to approve the report of the closed session minutes review and destruction of all audio recordings made prior to September 15th, 2020. Chris, please call the roll.
And this is an yes or an aye. Matt?
Yes.
Marianne?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Chris, yes. Richard?
Yes.
Christina?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I will now entertain any questions from trustees or suggestions for future agenda items.
Just a question
Yes.
about the t-shirts. Do
What?
Okay.
you know whether they tend to run big or small or in between?
They're true to size.
They're pretty true to size, yeah.
Thank you.
100% cotton?
God, I hope not.
I can't remember.
I hope they're a tri-blend or something.
I know they're Port Authority brand, but I'm not sure. I think they are a blend, but I'm not
Yeah.
positive.
Okay,
Doesn't matter.
thanks.
Don't forget to email me if you come up with any other agenda items for May 14th.
Oh, next meeting, are we looking at doing that in person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, good.
All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Richard and Matt.
Everybody.
Man, you guys just want to stay, don't you?
We like you. We really like you.
All right, Chris, call the roll.
Matt?
Here. Yes. Sorry.
Marianne?
Yes.
Tara?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Chris, yes. Richard?
Yes.
Christina?
Yes. We
And
stand
motion passes.
adjourned at 8:21 PM.